You're listening to Change Your POV Podcast, episode 178.
And, I blame it on a fatherless generation that never had its ass handed to them properly when they were young enough to realize it. And now we're dealing with people that absolutely have no respect and want to spend more time studying up on how to make a cop look like an asshole than they will on going out and getting a job. That's when I start getting my panties in a bunch, when I got to look at this stuff online and see these people making fun of these men and women who are walking out of their houses.
Change Your POV Podcast Network is dedicated to helping veterans become just as successful out of uniform as we were when we were in. Many service members trade in their military uniforms for a different uniform of service. Some of these uniforms include police, firefighters, first responders, corrections officers, security, forestry, border patrol, just to name a few. Our next guest is no stranger to a life of service. Please welcome Dave Bray. Hello, folks, and welcome to Change Your POV Podcast Network. I am your host, Eddie Lazary.
And I'm Bennett Tanton.
And today we are sitting down with none other than Dave Bray from Dave Bray USA. And Bennett, please let us know a little bit more about Dave.
So Dave Bray is a dedicated husband, father, and musician. He grew up in the rolling hills of Pennsylvania, where he currently lives with his wife and two boys. Dave proudly served in the United States Navy, has an 8404 FMF Corpsman and 22 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marine Stay Platoon, stationed out of Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Love that place. Dave has entertained people all over the world and has dedicated his musical career supporting U.S. veterans, active duty military, and first responders. Dave considers his music a continuation of his service. His love of God and country are evident in his original songs and patriotic renditions. His shows are highly adaptable to any venue, and his music ranges from storytelling country to anthem rock. Dave is best known for his ability to ignite an audience with his powerful versions of the national anthem and God Bless America. Dave has performed on Fox and Friends, ESPN, The Blaze, the Golf Channel, and several local television and radio stations across the USA. You can find Dave on stage at rodeos, boxing matches, motorcycle rides, fairs, charity, corporate, and private events. Dave Bray, it's a pleasure to have you, brother.
Hey, thanks, Bennett. You know what I'm thinking?
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking that I should use that for my bio on my website because it sounds really, really good.
It actually might be.
That's I was the whole time you're reading it, I'm saying, does he know I'm sitting right here?
Yes, for sure.
Well, thanks for that lengthy and winded introduction. I appreciate you guys having me on. As always, this is I think the second time or third time I've spoken to you, Bennett, and Eddie. Let's do this, man. Let's make it a good one.
Yeah, hell yeah. We're gonna dig in, man, because that's what we do here. And I got to tell you, in preparation for this, I mean, I was loosely familiar with your work, but I wanted to really kind of dig in and kind of get a sense. So I was at work today, and I was playing some of your songs, and I'm man enough to admit this. I played your song "Warrior," and I'm sitting at my desk. I got my earbuds in, and I'm playing the song, and I'm like, no shit, like I'm getting choked up, bro. And I'm like, oh my God, somebody walks into my office and like wonder what the hell's going on. But I love your music. I love the message, and I think we're going to lead off with that. And that is, I understand your prior military. I get all that, right? But there's a lot of prior military that just are unable to really kind of capture the essence of the military, and not just the military, but the service, right? The service involved with being in the military. So, like, where does that come from in your music and in your lyrics? I'm assuming you write your own stuff, right?
Yeah. Yes, I do. And, a big thing going around right now is this whole empath. I'm an empath. I feel everybody else's emotions kind of thing. And, this is something that I've been touching on for a while, and that is that the human beings on this planet, we are one organism. Our emotions are connected, and, we're all empaths to each other. We should be each other's support systems, but we should also be each other's sort of, their pain receptors. When someone else is feeling pain, we need to be able to feel it along with them, actually physically feel it. And a lot of us turn our backs on it. I can go back to when I was a little kid and I would see like an old man in a wheelchair and I would get this feeling in my gut that was just overwhelming. And I think everybody's, I mean, you guys have probably had that too. It just sort of goes up your spine, I guess, is a way to put it. And I used to walk towards that, whereas most kids would maybe hide behind their parents' leg or hide behind. I used to be the kid that would walk up and be like, dude, why are you in a wheelchair? What happened to you? Why are your legs all messed up? Why is your face jacked up? Like, I was this sort of inquisitive kid who really felt the urge to not only feel like I didn't understand the feeling that I was feeling, so I wanted them to try to explain it. Why are you making me feel weird? Yeah. And as a kid, a few people that, really connected with me, they made me explain, hey, this is what happens when you, do this, or when I was in the military or I served. And, I think that was one of the things that, I just gravitated towards. And I guess it's just like anything else. I sort of honed in on that. And when I have that feeling around somebody, I try to figure out why I'm getting a certain feeling. And, sometimes it's like they're a Gold Star mom or they've lost a child or something along those lines. And it's something that I don't know. It's sort of a God-given gift, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great freaking answer. I love it. Now, besides you, what about your family? Anyone else serve in the military?
So I come from kind of a long line. I had my great uncle served. He was wounded in the Battle of the Argonne Forest. Nice. He had his leg pretty much blown off where he crawled into a well on a farm. The well was a wet well. He fell down however many feet. And as he started to he was in the well for, I believe, 3 days. And as the battle was sort of happening above, people were trying to get water, and he was pretending the well was dry. So he would hold something up to prevent the buckets from getting water. People were dropping shit down to try to get to him. He ended up using his leg to prop himself out of the water so he wouldn't get more necrotic from the water. So it's just a crazy story. And then my dad was a U.S. Navy enlisted guy. My brother was a U.S. Navy enlisted guy. I ended up following the footsteps. I wanted to be a more of a soldier, so I ended up going with the Greenside Marines and spending my time with them. So, yeah, I mean, I got a long history, I feel, of military service and service to this country in general.
Awesome. Handing out tons of Motrin foot powder and drink water.
Yeah, I used to make Motrin grenades out of duct tape and moleskin, so in the battlefield, just throw them out. You're good. You're good, man. Put this on.
Now, what years did you serve again?
Okay, so I I don't want to talk about how old I am, but I got out in '97.
All right.
Yeah, so.
You and I are the same age.
Okay, so that's not.
Don't feel too bad.
So we're 31.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. 27. Oh, man.
97, I was a private E1 in the Army, probably going through basic training at that time.
Nice. I had already gotten out of the Marine Corps.
Damn.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
I was halfway between there and the Army at that point.
So, I mean, that's the other thing, too, is once you serve in the military, it doesn't matter how long ago it was, you just, you know what I mean? Patriotism lasts forever, right? And one of the things that I found kind of interesting is, obviously, before I deployed to Iraq, I was in the Army for 10 years total, but my last year was in Iraq. So 9 years prior to my deployment, I was in the Army, and I met many veterans, many former combat veterans like Vietnam and a few World War II. And I obviously, there was that connection that we were both in the military. But it wasn't until I came home for my 2-week R&R when I was in Iraq. I came home for 2 weeks, and of course we had to fly in uniform and everything. And my family picked me up at the airport, and we went out to eat. And I think it was like a Denny's or something like that. And I had to get up and go to the bathroom. I'm still wearing my uniform, and I get up and I go to the bathroom. And as I'm going towards the bathroom, this old guy, he just kind of grabs my arm, and it kind of startled me a little bit. I looked, and he looked at me, and he was sitting there by himself, and he says, thank you for your service. And I said, well, thank you, the typical, thank you for your service thing. And he says, I also served in World War II. And I was like, oh, wow, and he goes, do you have a minute? And I'm like, sure. So I sat down, and I'm sitting across from this old guy, and he starts in with these stories, right? And before long, it was as if I was sitting there with just one of my 19 or 20-year-old soldiers just shooting the shit. And it was crazy because he was in his, I think, 90s, and I, at the time, was in my 30s. And it was crazy because even though we fought different wars in different times, the stories and the brotherhood and the camaraderie, it was as if he was my battle buddy and I was his, and we were able to exchange a lot of similar stories and feelings across that divide. And it really kind of brought me into this new type of respect for veterans. And I see that today whenever I meet, a Vietnam veteran or somebody that served in Korea or something like that. There's just this bond that kind of spans across the divide. And it's just something that veterans share that's unique and unlike anything else. And I'm sure with your experiences, Dave, you travel a lot, you do a lot of concerts, and you meet a lot of veterans. And I'm sure the same is true for you.
I mean, yeah, I got to agree with you. I try to relate on all levels, not just, military and veteran. I try to relate on, law enforcement, anybody who's into service and putting on a uniform. I've been really, really blessed in my life. I've always tell my kids, I've lived many lives in my life. And, even in my military days, I was an EMT guy. I worked in the ER. From there, I was an FMF corpsman and got to be with the, state platoon and snipers and go through that training. And, from there, get out and, then, the continuation of service through music and being able to have contact with men and women who have served and are continuing to serve, up and into, the special forces community, and to be able to hear some of those stories. I mean, and then into the police community and hearing more and more stories coming back. So again, it's all relative. That service, the oath taker's lifestyle, I guess is the best way to say it. Because, when we take a military oath, Bennett, there's no expiration. You just continue. You better find something that is doing a positive, for the Constitution, for man and for America on the way out. And once you're out, a lot of guys, I feel like they forget, that oath continues. Yeah, you're not on the paycheck anymore, and you don't have to wear a uniform anymore, but your oath is still in place. You don't de-oath getting out of the military.
It didn't end when we got out. Or stopped working. So that segues great into this song, The Last Call. So pretty powerful song, man, I have to say.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this song is called Last Call. It was written for our brothers and sisters in blue. It's dedicated to the men and women who have fallen in the line of duty, the families they've left behind, and to their departments who never forget their fellowship, their service, and their sacrifice. This is Last Call by Dave Bray, USA.
Man down, I'm bleeding out. There's no time, so please hear me out. These are the last few words that I'd like to say to you all. This is my last call. Tell my wife I love her and that I won't be home tonight. Thank her for those long, hard years that we tried to get it right. And tell her I'll be waiting after she makes it through it all. This is my last call. But ask her to forgive me. Tell her I'm sorry. can't be. The man that she's gonna be. Tell her I'll be waiting where the winter meets the fall. This is my last call. And tell my children that I love them. Oh yeah, that daddy always loved them so. And tell them to hold their mother tight and to never let her go. And tell them I'll always be watching, looking over them through it all. This is my last call. Tell him to fight for me. Do what's right for me. Choose the light for me. But don't ever forget me. Tell them I'll always be watching, and I'll be there when they fall. This is my last call. For those who serve beside me and who held that thin blue line, stand tall, stand strong, and hold your head up high. I'm sorry I let you down today, but please know I gave my all. This is my last call. So raise a glass for me. And kick some ass for me. Ring a bell for me. Send a flag to hell for me. I'd like to think I saved a few good lives, but I couldn't save them all. This is my last call. Yeah, I'd like to think I saved a few good lives, but I couldn't save my own. This is my last call.
All units, stand by for a special announcement. Emergency traffic only.
11:45. Prince William calling. 11:45. This is the final call for 11:45. Officer Ashley Gwendon. End of watch, February 27th, 2016. May you rest in peace.
When I listen to the lyrics of this song, it feels like it almost comes from either a personal experience that you've gone through, or one that that you've been a part of. Am I out of left field in saying that? Because you really captured, I think, the essence of that story.
Well, one of the things, again, that when it comes to songwriting is want to write about something and who are afraid to really open up certain doors and certain windows, maybe even to expose some truths of their own personal lives that they're not really willing to speak or sing about. And when it came to Last Call, the first, I have to go back, but you have to go back into a point where I heard a Last Call through a friend of mine who had shared on Facebook, listen to this emotional, final call for this officer that was down beginning of 2016. Took the time and I opened it up, and I wasn't really sure what to expect. If something says it's emotional or heartbreaking or heart touching, I'm I'm a sucker, man. I'll open that thing up every time, and it's usually something about how to keep an erection longer or whatever. But that was a joke, by the way.
Yeah.
I got it.
Open up those things. It's like, is that an octopus? What the hell is that thing? I'm gonna open that up.
What is that thing?
Okay, we can cut that out. So anyway, I open up this this link to listen to this last call. It was a dispatcher, and she was reading. She cleared the airwaves, and working in dispatchment in EMS myself, and as an EMT and a, ambulance crew chief, and I was familiar with the lingo, but I'd never heard a last call or a final call go out over the airwaves before. And I had read the story of the fallen soldier, or I'm sorry, the fallen officer. Then I hit play, and I heard the pain in the dispatcher's voice as she read out the first badge number the first time. And she says, badge number 783, this is dispatch. And, obviously there's no answer. She calls out again to the badge number, no answer. Third time, final time, badge number, no answer. And I was literally like you, sitting in an area, and I'm like, tears are just running down my face, and I'm looking like I've probably lost my mind. And I wanted to write an answer to those blank spots, because I went back and listened to it again, because it just crushed me emotionally. You could hear the distress and pain in this dispatcher's voice. You could hear the emptiness on the airwaves was louder than any emptiness. It was like a black silence or a void that just overtook me. And I wanted to write something that would fill that. And if you listen to Last Call, it's written in 3 segments. It's written to his wife. It's written to his children, stay in the fight, choose a good life, and then it's written to his comrades and his brothers and sisters who hold the thin blue line. And that's why it's written in 3 progressions, because they call out a badge number 3 times. And, it was one of those things where I had to put myself, and this gets back to your question, Eddie, I had to put myself into a position where it was over for me. It was done. Mm-hmm. And if I was checking out, what would I want to say? What would I want people to say? What would I say to my kids? What would I say to my brothers and sisters? And what would I say to my wife? If I was checking out, if this was it, and I was done, that was the approach I took. And I sat in a dark basement, and I wrote this kind of a long letter, and it was written in 3 parts. And that was, it was to my wife, and it was to my kids, and it was to the people that I've spent time with in service and in music, and that was it. And I said to myself, this song needs to be for our police. It needs to be for them. And so I honed it and made a few changes, and it really turned into something special. And I can remember trying to get it down, because I record everything on a cell phone. I tried to get it down on a cell phone, and I was just overwhelmed with emotion trying to sing it out. That I don't know where those audio clips are, but they're ridiculous, because I sound like, a sobbing, baby trying to choke down tears of, that kid who's like sniffling and everything. So it was one of those times where I knew I had something special, wrote the song, and I'm glad to say that, it was written from a true place, from a true heart. And, for those people that have lost anyone in the line of duty, it goes out to them and to their families.
Yeah, man. And I never served in the police force, nor do I know anybody that had. But when I listened to that song, I remember when I lost my first soldier in Iraq, we held a memorial for him, and it was the first time I ever witnessed or been a part of the last roll call that happens when a fallen soldier goes down. The first sergeant, basically, or the command sergeant major, will stand up and do a roll call, basically, and call out 3 different names, and the last name being of the fallen soldier. And again, they call out 3 times, and there's no response. It's very similar to what you just described, and that is such an emotional, impactful thing that words cannot describe that feeling. And then I listened to that song, Last Call, and I was like, oh my God, like Dave was able to capture in words that feeling that up until I heard that song, I was unable to really put the words. And even though it's about police, I really felt it very similar feeling when we do the last roll call for fallen soldiers. So very powerful, man. And what's been the response so far with the police community?
Well, the song had been out for a while until I had sent it out to a couple friends of mine that were cops, and it went through their departments, and it kind of sort of jumped up and fizzled out. And recently I made some really good connections with Fraternal Order of Police, and I sent it down through their network, and the response has just really been kind of incredible. You know, and this is going to be sort of one of those things where you know, it's probably faux pas or whatever, but I look at all the support that our veterans and our military have gotten over probably the last 10 years or so. And I'm not saying that it's been misused or miscalculated, but we look like some of these monster nonprofits, you know, they're just building these giant bank accounts and on the name of supporting veterans. And there's a lot of others that are doing the same. You know, while our police, you know, for a unit of 6 people are given a budget of $4,500 a year for protective and, you know, certain, you know, devices that aren't provided by the actual department themselves.
Yeah, got to buy their own vests and all.
Yeah, they got to buy their own stuff. Yeah,
doesn't make any sense.
It really, really is unreal. I mean, we are throwing. I would probably say close to $1 billion from the private sector a year towards military veteran support, military support, nonprofit. I'm talking about all the packages that go overseas and this kind of stuff. And God bless them. And I'm all for that. I am absolutely all for that. But if we want to really take a really honest, genuine look at what's happening in this world, our country is the battlefield. You know, Luttrell said this at one of the Trump rallies. You don't have to go to Afghanistan to find the war. The war is here. Go put on a badge. You know, that's it. I mean, between the cop shaming that's happening on live videos now, it's no different than the rules of engagement that are being, you know, rubbed in the faces of our warfighters overseas, being commanded and, you know, being sent down through the chain of command that's sitting behind a desk somewhere in Virginia. It's no different that these guys got to go out on patrol day in and day out, dealing with mouthy thugs now with their own personal television shows that are going to make these cops look like a bunch of jackasses. And then news media outlets and everybody else being like, hey, watch this guy. He knows his rights. He's going to shame this cop and make him look like an idiot. I'm sick of it, dude. You know, you know, it's just like, man, you're gonna wind me up, man. I blame this on the fatherless generation. I blame it on the fatherless generation. Generations, you know, raised by school teachers with no backbones, moms who didn't have the time to care for their kids, and you know, I blame it on a fatherless generation that never had its ass handed to them properly when they were young enough to realize it. And now we're dealing with people that absolutely have no respect, and want to spend more time studying up on how to make a cop look like an asshole than they will on going out and getting a job. So, you know, that's when I start getting my panties in a bunch, when I got to look at this stuff online and see these people making fun of these men and women who are walking out of their houses, kissing their kids and their wives at 3:00 in the morning so they can be on the job, wearing 100 pounds of gear on a 150-degree day, who don't have enough money coming from their departments, that have to buy their own tourniquets, have to buy their own gear for their own protection, all in the name of somebody else's safety, not even their own family safety directly, but everyone else's safety. And then we got these jackwagons out there who want to make these little videos thinking they're cool because they read up on some rights about how you can talk to or how you're not supposed to be talked to. I'm all about your civil rights. But those civil rights are in place to protect you. They're not in place for you to go out and demand people to act on your regard. That is not how they work. They are one way only. If you don't like how that is the way it's set up, you know, the thing that I blame yet again is the people that we put in office. The legislation that we put there are the ones who make those stupid laws. And, you know, I'm gonna start backing my police, my first responders a lot more coming up in the next couple of years. That's going to be my devotion, because what our men and women in blue are dealing with on a daily basis is absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah, Eddie and I have talked about this quite a bit, and not just the boys in blue and the first responders getting a raw deal, but the whole idea of the feminization of America, not so much that, it's the demasculization of America, and how it really has impacted our society. And we don't really have time to get into it, down and deep, but we kind of have on this podcast before. So we totally understand exactly what you're saying, Dave, and right there with you.
Hell yeah. I was going to say, it's a good thing we don't have any safe spaces on this podcast. Because, right. Oh, yeah. And I thank you for what you do, man, bringing awareness to the people that deserve it, and they're underserved by and large, not just
way underserved, not just financially. Obviously, we brought that up, but you get these police that aren't even really supported by the people above them, like you said, the people in, whether it be civil servants or civilians. Well, at the local level or at the county level, whatever they're working, it's just and it sickens me. And what really bothers me more than anything is you'll have one instance where a situation wasn't handled probably, and it's easy to say it wasn't handled probably the best way because you're only getting a small glimpse into what happens, right? These little video clips you see like on Facebook, but that gets shown over and over and over again, but you'd never see the hundreds of thousands of good things that police are doing every single day, right? It's so skewed one direction, and that's unfortunate.
Absolutely. The media plays a huge part in it. That's why.
Huge part.
Yeah. That's why I want to get involved. It's the right thing to do. You got back into branding yourself and coming home and what to do. I'm a service member. I did, maybe 4, 6, 8 years, whatever. I'm not going to be retiring and getting a pension. I'm not, come home, man, put a badge on, be a service, continue your service. You are one of the most valuable assets to this country. And I'm talking to all these new vets coming home. You're one of those most valuable assets to this country. Camaraderie on a higher level. War fighting and tactics on a higher level. We need more of you in our police force. We need our police to be, the personnel needs to be people that understand all these things. I mean, nothing against the civilian community that's going into the police department, but it is unrivaled by what you could bring to our law enforcement if you're looking for something, man. And this is going out to anybody thinking about getting out, coming home. Don't even hesitate, man. Get your DD-214, walk into a department, go to the academy, and show these guys and these girls, up the ante and bring it, man. Bring your service and your capabilities to our police. They're getting their asses kicked. We're getting our asses handed to us. And I just want to see, there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of people getting back and getting out. I don't know what to do. I'm lost. It's here. We need you. Law enforcement, get into it.
Yeah. So, you bring up branding. So, of all people, I think, you are kind of an authority on making yourself into a brand, considering what you do and your brand, Dave Bray USA. Yeah, there's not very many veterans that I talk to, and I say veterans because that's, basically my community, that don't know who Dave Bray is. So with that, guys coming home that need a job, guys coming home, they don't quite know what to do. At the end of the day, one of the first things they need to do is get themselves out there, and that's branding. So talk to me a little bit about how you have made this happen for you, Dave. And really, do you understand what I'm saying?
I get it, man. I completely understand that. As far as every veteran in the world who knows who I am, I doubt that's the truth. I wish. I'd love to be in more contact with more in the veteran community. I think just being a proponent, sticking up for something is important. I'm going to touch this one more time and then I'm done with it. your time in service goes towards your time. If you jump on into a police unit, a federal job, your time in service goes towards your time. That's a government job. That's a carryover towards your pension. So it's a pension carryover. It's just like a 401k rollover, man. You can roll over your time into service. So just think about that. And it goes in towards schooling and everything else. On a secondary note, you want to ask about branding. And I don't know if I'm an authority. I don't know if I'm, good at it. I knew that I was forced into a position of making a huge sacrifice for myself. And, being someone who has, been in music for, on and off for the last probably 15, 20 years, and on a professional level for the last 6 years, I can tell you that you never stop trying to brand yourself. Like your image and your repertoire and how you go about, your social and how you go about your brand and what you're going to build upon and how you're going to build never stops. You have to find a place to dedicate your time and efforts. You can't push on all sides of the circle at one time and expect to grow a circle. I mean, you're always going to grow a square because you only have 4 appendages. So it's one of those things where if you want your circle to grow organically, you have to push from the center and sort of be like the rings in the pond. You know what I mean? And you have to sort of just ebb and flow it. It's not always going to be one direction. There's going to be times where it feels like, the storm is pushing back. And you just have to continue. You have to continue on and keep pushing. As far as Brave Day and Dave Bray USA and the Brave Day apparel line, that was a child of mine that came through my faith avenue. I'm a believer. I'm a Christ believer, as Christ was the most badass, faith-driven God man that ever walked the face of this earth. If you told anybody that has walked today and said, "Hey, we're going to go spike you up on a cross and you're gonna die in a couple days, and we want you to denounce your faith," and there's not too many people that would stand up and do that. That's just the last the final act compared to his entire life. So. I look at faith as something that is exercised. It works the same as any other type of exercise. If you're not sweating, you're not exercising. And I say the same about prayer. If you're not praying, you're not a believer. And you can be I call them keyboard Christians. I'm praying for you. I'm praying for this. I'm praying for. Did you actually get down? Did you put your hands together? Did you bow your head? Did you use appropriate words to address God and the Lord above to pray for that person? Or are you just a keyboard Christian? And one of my a few of my things that came across my mind in prayer were walk fearless in faith, my son. And that was it. I was like, how do I walk fearless in faith when I can't even get out of bed? I'm in pain. I'm suffering. I'm just in the worst place that I've ever been in my life. How do I walk fearless in faith when I can't get my ass out of a bed? And it started by getting on my knees. And then it started with exercise. And it started with prayer. So, I think there's a lot that can be cured within the body and the mind and the soul through sweat, prayer, exercise, and diet. And there's not much that can't be fixed if you can put your hands together on a religious daily basis, numerous times a day. If you can drop down and give yourself 20 when you're feeling like total ass, and just push for the Lord, push for pain, push for your anger or whatever you're dealing with. Like I used to drop and do push-ups at work. I used to drop and do push-ups in the subway. I used to get so frustrated in traffic. I'd pull over. I'd drop and do push-ups at the gas station and people might look at you like you're an idiot, but it's exercising your demons, man. It's either that or, the alternative, which is, yelling at somebody or driving aggressively or making the wrong decisions at work. We all battle demons. There's nobody out there that doesn't have some form of PTSD. Don't think that you're the only person who's had or dealt with a hard or difficult situation. Now there's different levels, there's different colors of that on the rainbow. But I think that if we can get our minds wrapped around the fact that we're not alone, life is hard. It's never going to stop being hard. It's not Saturday morning cartoons. It's the real deal. It's playing for keeps. The enemy's out there. The bad guys are here. They're not just overseas. You wrap your head around all those things. You pick something. You stand by it, you make the decisions, and you push forward. And you prove to people not what you say, but by what you do. And that's it.
Amen. Couldn't agree more, man, for sure. Now, have you always been a man of faith, or is that something you kind of came into later in life?
Faith has its own ebb and flow with me. Being a young kid, I was dragged to Sunday school and church, and it wasn't really something that I felt. It was something I did. It was almost like doing the exercises or writing out an exercise plan without actually doing the push-ups. And it just didn't work. I wasn't attached to it. And I think as a kid, it's hard to wrap your mind around faith because you haven't lived enough life to have it. And I think as a child, the indoctrination of faith is a good stepping stone. But I was confirmed like when I was like 13 or 14 years old and hadn't lived a large enough life to really understand why faith was here, why Jesus was here, why God is true, why this is all happening. And a lot of people are baptized when we're babies, and I'm all for that. The blessing of bringing a child of God into the world, but that commitment's on the parents. You're not just always going to be your parents' faith-driven child. You have to find your own experience with faith in your life, and there's something to be said about actually truly digging down and getting into what faith truly is. And you have these religions, and this is one of the things that I look at Islam for, and unfortunately, I have to commend them for their passion about faith, but they are without anything else. So faith is their objective. Now, people have turned that faith into something completely different than what it truly was supposed to be, or maybe it wasn't. But if you find people who walk in Christ and walk with faith, you'll know. You will recognize it. You will see it from the outside. You can feel it when you're around them. It's that same feeling that you just know. This person has chosen faith in their life. They're living by it, and they're committed to it. And there's nothing that's going to shake them from that. But,
right.
As far as have I always been? No, I haven't always been. I've slipped in and out of faith. Faith has been good to me. Faith has been bad to me. God has been good. God has been bad to me, or what I perceived as bad. So I walked away. Every time, though, I find faith because, I thought for a long time that I was godless. I was a godless child, even though I was baptized, even though I was confirmed that, I believed and I read the Bible. I just thought that I was one of these people that I was godless. There's no way. And then a few things happened to me that changed my mind. And I realized that when you are only at your lowest point, can you ever truly find what faith truly is?
What was one of those points for you in your life?
Well, I think most recently, after I was the former singer for a band called Madison Rising. There was a lot of issues that came out from that. A lot of things went public, and I felt as though that I was, being sort of, abandoned, or, I felt unfairly treated. And then I looked at the whole situation for a couple months. I spent some time up in the woods and just sort of self-reflecting and, spending a lot of time going through a lot of pain and heartache and suffering. And it wasn't until, I sort of realized that, sitting in the middle of nowhere, sitting there, sort of crying in my own beer isn't going to help anything. It's not helping my family move forward. It's not helping my wife. It's not helping my career. It's not helping. What's the point of all this? And, I really got down and dirty on some praying, and I got down and dirty on faith, and I got down and dirty on asking some questions and really actually listening to the answers. And the answers started coming. It was one of those things that, first off, shed your fears, be brave, walk proud in this life you're given. The time you're wasting, hating on yourself or regretting or, is worthless. Now, say you're sorry, and now go be sorry. Go be and prove to people around you that you are sorry, and tell everyone you can, hey man, I messed up, or and I want to fix this, and I'm not going to say I'm sorry again, but I'm going to show you how I'm going to fix it. And that's that was my walk back into the light with Christ, and I've tried my best to hold on to that, and still to this day, I don't think anyone ever, once they're walking, in faith and in Christ, not every day is a win. There's good days, there's bad days. I think we all fail, and the key is to forgive yourself, move on, put your hands back together, ask for forgiveness, and continue on in the fight, and keep fighting the good fight. So
yeah, it's like our words, Eddie. It's we kind of live by a mantra, Eddie and I, and at least that I always parrot on the show, called trust, gratitude, and forgiveness. And if you can't do that with trusting yourself, trusting others, having gratitude for what's given to you, and then forgiveness in yourself and others as well, what the heck's the point of even living?
Right. Yeah. I mean, if everything's going to be a tally of pain, then you're going to end up, it's like they just continue to throw the 100 pounds on your back every time something bad happens. And in order to move forward, a lot of people, I lost a lot of friends, and, it's through the whole ordeal, or people that I considered more like family. And, I even now today, I'm realizing, hey, I lost that person. That person I thought was a good friend of mine, but they're bought into whatever they believe in me, and they don't believe in me at all, or they don't care to believe in me or be a part of my life. So, sometimes those people that we are sort of strung to, or what we consider friends to, they end up becoming anchors for us, and they end up weighing us down. And it's not one of those things that you go out and do physically, but it's one of those things that you really have to mentally say, okay, well, obviously that person really never truly cared. And it's one of those things that I need to move on. Although I appreciate them, and I, really genuinely looked and admired that person or cared for that person, it's time for me to move on. It's time for me to just say, okay, done. You know what I mean? That finished. I'm not going to continue to try to show my support if it's not going to be reciprocated, right? So, I mean, that's a hard and tough pill to swallow, especially with, in my business and in social media, where, you never want to lose a contact. You never want to lose a friend. You never want to lose your battle buddy. And then, you see those people, kind of going off in different directions and buying into whatever they're bought into, that of the type of person you are. And that's the hardest thing, I think, to deal with. And, being somebody who absolutely genuinely loves people, that's probably the hardest part of my business some days,
So talk to me about, one thing I want to know is, what's the energy like at a Trump rally? Especially when you're performing there.
Well, I mean, I can tell you this, dude, that going into the election, I did a few Trump rallies, and it's kind of electric. It gets, I don't want to say it gets like crazy, but there was just a genuine, I've never seen anything really like it, because this guy wasn't just filling arenas and packing the house. There were thousands of people outside, like watching giant television screens, watching this guy speak. This wasn't just an election in America. Those were, in my opinion, those rallies, the Trump rallies going into the presidential election, that was what a peaceful and organized protest looks like. These people would show up. Nobody was getting hurt. They weren't flipping over cop cars. They were showing their support for something. Trump was larger than life, and still is, obviously. But going into it, it was a battle. We knew that we were going to be fighting an uphill battle against possible election rigging. I mean, you're against the Clintons, for crying out loud. You might as well be up against the Kennedys. It was one of those things where I think America was standing up, standing tall, and standing behind someone who we truly believed in, because that person knew exactly what we had been through. It wasn't somebody that was a Washington elite. It was somebody who was, ground up, done his thing, and has dealt with Washington. And we're hoping, that he continues on with his promises. But going in there, I can tell you, it was pretty intense, man. Like, it was like a march of patriotic soldiers heading in to battle. We were ready, and that's all you can say about going into that presidential election. I don't think it's ever happened before. You've never seen a constituency pull together so tightly and get behind a candidate before like this in history. It was absolutely amazing.
And I bring that up, because you were telling your story there, and I just wanted to show that literally going from like down in the dumps, literally sitting there and wallowing in your own beer, that you go from something like that to literally, within months, something so electrifying and literally world changing, to be a part of and be in, that it just kind of shows you that, you kind of end up where you put yourself, you know what I mean? And if you have that positive thinking and you're like, I'm not going to sit here and be a victim, you go out there and you're freaking, you were performing for the future president of the United States along with all the people there supporting him, Right. Just awesome stuff, brother.
I do want to touch on the fact that I had a sort of an extreme circumstance too. I had a shark chewing on my leg, as I was, drowning. I had the media and, I had people and just really destroying me publicly. And I had two choices, was to sort of dig my own grave and jump in it and quit and give up on everything I believed in, give up on music and giving up on, supporting the people I appreciate, and kind of giving up on everything, because, I feel like everybody is on this planet for a reason. It's a specific reason. And, I can remember being a kid and people were calling me a rock star before I ever even, picked up music. And it's just one of those things that I'm not a rock star, but there's a certain gene inside of me that I guess it's a rock star gene that I want so badly to fulfill that destiny, that, in a way it's kind of like, I guess what I'm getting at is the time we're given on this planet is so short, and we see so many people that work day in and day out so that they can afford to retire when they're 60, 70, and 80 years old. And I'm sitting here going, okay, so I'm going to give all the best years of my life, my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, and my 50s, when my body's healthy, when I can go out, when I got a little bit of vanity left, I'm going to give all that up for a corporation that's going to pay me a 401k and a pension. And for those of you who do that, God bless you, because I feel like you're chosen. And I can't look back on my life. I've heard on too many occasions from deathbeds people saying, I wish I would have been a painter. I should have built houses for a living. I wish I would have stuck with my art, or I wish I would have stuck with teaching kids, or I wish. I just don't want to be that guy on my deathbed that says, man, I should have stuck with music. I was actually pretty good, and people were digging it, and I just can't. I just couldn't do it. That was God's word saying to me, hey dude, either get in a fight, get busy living, or get busy dying. You know what I mean? And it was kind of a surreal moment, and I'm blessed to say that thus far it's working. Until the day I can't do it anymore is the day I will do it. So that's it.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. And folks listening to this, the links for everything that we're talking about, it will be in the show notes page, including the website and upcoming shows that you'll be performing at. And I know you're from Pennsylvania. I'm in New Hampshire. Bennett's in New York. So we're kind of on either side of you, sort of.
But not that far. Plus we have another friend in common who I heard broke some bread not too long ago, and that's Adam Bird from
Adam.
Yeah, from Heroes Media Group.
Yeah, man. He came. He actually stopped by the house. I did did my shake and bake special chicken and pasta bake. He was impressed. Trust me.
He's a great guy, man. We love him.
He's also quite an eater. A lot of people don't know this about Adam Bird. He is a consumer of food. He will eat some chicken and pasta, man.
Only if it's good, though, right?
Hey, man, I passed the Adam Bird test. That's for sure. Love it.
That's awesome.
So, Dave, thanks so much for your time coming on here. Where can people find more about you and what you've got going on?
All right, so go to Bands in Town. It's Dave Bray USA. If you want to see what I got online, it's just Dave Bray on iTunes. You want to find any of my stuff, it's just easiest if you go to davebrayusa.com. You can check out my apparel. You can check out my T-shirts. It's one of those things where I feel like if people can listen just one time in a quiet place, it's not going to blow your doors off, but it'll touch you emotionally. I feel like my music is meant to talk to your soul, not to your ears, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So of all your songs, what's your favorite?
Well, I got a bunch that I haven't released yet. So.
Oh, okay.
Very nice. Well done, sir.
So there's a few more acts coming up. But Last Call is obviously one of my favorites. But I'm going to be releasing the video for Amazing Grace at the end of May before Memorial Day. So right around Armed Forces Day, you're gonna be hearing a lot from me for the Amazing Grace video coming out, and it's pretty spectacular, and I'm pretty excited about it. So the Amazing Grace version that I did is on iTunes. It's Taps and Amazing Grace, and you can get it at www.davebrayusa.com.
Very cool.
Cool.
Thanks, Dave. And everyone, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Change Your POV Podcast. You can find all of the show notes and everything we talked about in the show notes for this episode over at changeyourpov.com/episode 178. Never miss an episode. Hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice. We have a lot more great content headed your way. And hey, come be part of our community over at Change Your POV Squad Facebook group. We would love to see you there. All right, folks. Until next time.
But now